Hey, and welcome back to another episode of the WhizzbangBAM podcast. I'm your host, Brad Goodall. With me today in the Nashville Airbnb studio, the content farm, the hang, I have Paige Maloney. Give it up for Paige Maloney, everybody. Sometimes we clap when people arrive.
Hey, happy to be here.
Happy to be here. Thanks. Happy to have you here.
Thanks. It's
Thanks.
an honor.
You seem so excited.
I'm not really one to be the center of attention, so I wouldn't say this is my dream scenario.
You are a behind-the-scenes person. You are a booking
right.
agent. Is that correct?
That is correct. That's
this little
how I got there.
deposition, you're a booking agent. When did you get started doing that? How long have you been doing that?
A few years. I've been at the agency for 7 years and kind of worked my way up through the ranks. So, was an assistant, then a coordinator, and an agent.
How'd you get to be an assistant, though? Because I've had a couple of these interviews thus far with you industry climbers, you behind-the-scenes people working your way up, and everybody has an interesting story. It's usually a go-getter's beginning to the story of, I walked up to the merch table, and boom, I was working with bands. There's been a couple of those thus far.
I wish my story was that cool. It's not. I started in music at Live Nation. Just really wanted to work in music and just applied for jobs and kind of hustled and, just was kind of patient with it. And then finally got a gig in contracts at Live Nation up in Philadelphia. And then did that for a little while, liked it, but felt like it maybe wasn't the side of the industry that I was most interested in, and was really drawn to the artist development side.
Right.
So kind of started looking at how to make the jump to the agency side, and worked with what the company at the time that I worked for was called Paradigm. And I loved everyone that worked there that I interacted with when I was at Live Nation. Loved their roster, just was super drawn to the company, and just started applying. I guess that's go-getter, but
that's go-getter. That's more formal than some of the interviews I've been conducting, where it was very just walk up and go change your life forever.
This is the rule follower version of how to break into the music industry, which is super not cool.
I don't know. I mean, you gotta get where you're going, and you went the formal way via email. There's a lot of emails in your life, I have a feeling. Is
Way
that
too many emails?
Day to day, is that how you're getting people to play shows? It's just email?
It's a lot of email, a lot of phone calls, collaboration, but yeah, I would say a lot of my work is done via email, which is the most efficient, but, also hurts my eyes and my spine.
Yeah, we got to get you some
posture.
We got to get you some blue blockers. You got to get some of those.
I don't know if I believe in them.
Really?
Do they
Why
work?
not? I think they're I think that's a noted thing, blue blockers. Those are we trying to pop the bubble on blue blockers?
It kind of feels like fake science.
There you go. You heard it first from the booking agent. She doesn't believe in blue light blockers or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
But
don't spread that rumor. Yeah, no, way too many emails in general, but it is the easiest way to get a lot done because I do work in the volume business.
It's a volume game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you send them? 5 emails to book one show, or is it 20 to get one show?
I mean, 20 is on the low end.
20 is on the low end. Okay,
typically.
That's a work-intensive thing.
Yes.
You're out here grinding for the artist.
Yeah.
That's
the fun part.
Is it easier when somebody's huge, or does it ever get easier trying to line up a tour, or is it always just a crazy mess that somehow gets put together?
I would say it's never easy, just because it's one of those things where there's just so many variables. So even you can do your job 100% correctly, which you probably aren't, but even if you do, something will always go wrong. And it's kind of just like Murphy's Law. I don't know. Any number of things can go wrong. And especially over the past few years,
there's been almost everything has gone wrong all the time.
Yeah, but it's I don't know. The van could break down. Someone could get sick. The venue could lose power. The headliner could get sick and then have to cancel the show, and then the act that I have is supporting, they can't play the show. All of that.
That's
kind of
all
stuff.
been happening all the time.
This week.
That happened just now. Yeah, before you got here, you were dealing with that. With COVID and all that stuff, wasn't there a situation where you were booking a show and also booking the makeup all at the same time?
Yes.
That's how bad it got,
yes.
How much cancellations there were?
Yeah, so it was you would move the show, you'd find the new dates, and like hope that those would work, but then you'd at least get like 1 or 2 backup ranges and hold those dates as well.
How is it now as far as just the general culture? I mean, we're swinging. I mean, it's back, right?
We're back, baby.
We're
I was
back.
at 2 music festivals this weekend. We're back.
That's right.
No, it was, like full, not like 0 to 100, 0 to like a million, because, I mean, there was like no on-ramp. It was just like, whoosh, everyone's going, you know.
Everyone went from playing no shows to wanting like 40 shows for the summer.
And everyone wants to be out now, which, you know, obviously they should. And I want everyone to be out now, but it was just like, you know, it was just everyone at once. But so that's like made for, you know, a different kind of landscape in the sense that there's always traffic and it's always busy and there's always a million tours going on, but like the level this year is just wild.
Are there like bands that are too big for certain venues fighting over just getting any venue to get a stop?
Kind of, yeah. Like
some of that stuff happening?
A little bit, yeah. You know, it's not ideal, but there's just, you know, what else are you going to do?
Right.
It's pretty wild out there.
I believe you.
And it was, even pre-COVID, it was like getting pretty nuts how far out people were booking and how, because it was always kind of a thing in like theaters and like the bigger venues, but then even like at the club level, it was like people were booking a year and a half out, and it's like, you know, I don't know how you're supposed to keep up that pace, because it's like, you know, with bands at that size, so much can change in a year. So it's like crazy to think about booking a tour. I mean, it works for some people, but it's just, it got a little tough to keep up with. And now it's just like all bets are off.
I'm kind of surprised you have time to film a podcast, honestly. That sounds like a complete chaos to me.
It is, but it's fun chaos.
It's fun?
Most
rewarding?
of the time. So rewarding. Most of the time.
Are you in situations now where you're watching a band go from like selling 50 to 100 tickets a night? Have you seen anybody go from like literally cafes or clubs to, you know, theaters in the last couple of years? That must be a satisfying thing to watch the ascent of just like a really hot act, a great band.
That's like
That's
literally
the best part,
the dream.
right?
Yeah. It's so rewarding, and it's like, I think a large part of my job, the way I view it, is obviously artist representation, but like I just want to make my artist dreams come true, which is like super idealistic, but like at the core of what gets me out of bed in the morning, like that's the fun part. Am I allowed to curse?
Yeah, go ahead. Throw it out there. Go ahead. Rip it.
I don't have, well, just so I know. But yeah, like that, just, I don't know, connecting fans with their favorite musicians is like just a feeling that I don't see anywhere else or get anywhere else. And just seeing that moment where you're at a show with fans that are just having the greatest night of their lives, and, you know, they work really hard, and they, you know, only, you know, they choose to spend their money on that concert ticket, on that show, on that night out, and like to watch them just feel all of the things, all of their feelings at a show is just like I don't know. That's
you're part of that system. I mean, you're part of the team to get them to have those experiences. Yeah. Would you say like live music is bigger now, not just post-COVID, but like I feel like live music replaced not only just the revenue, but just the experience with artists after piracy? Music piracy. Okay, so that was like everybody was doing the industry thing as far as just selling as many CD units as possible, and that became like not really a thing. And now streaming is not really, you know, streaming didn't really make up for that. So now you have artists as big and as at the top as like, let's be honest, Beyonce playing a lot more shows than an artist at that apex would have like 15 years ago, right?
Yeah.
I mean, people are like working the road that don't even really necessarily would have not needed to a long time ago. Am I right about that?
Yeah, the financials of the industry have completely changed. I mean, like, you know, like what you're talking about with piracy and then streaming, like we all know artists don't really make any money on streaming, so they have to make revenue elsewhere, and touring has definitely, you know, became kind of the focus.
I think it's so many people's focus.
Yeah, and like not even just like the being paid to play the show, like the merch. Like some people will make way more in merch on a given night than like what they were getting for playing the show, because it's like that's, and I love that. Like anytime I'm talking to people that are maybe not in the industry, it's just like buy merch. Go to the show and buy the merch and
That's
the band.
That's really
get them their
supporting
gas money. Get them to the next show.
Just as much as a ticket sale is buying that, $25 T-shirt or whatever.
And then you're wearing the T-shirt, and then someone's like, "Oh, what's that?" And you're like, grassroots spreading the word about a band.
You should start your own company where you manage everybody and book. You have it all figured out. You get rid of Ian Thornton. You don't need any of this. I'm just kidding.
I would not say that. I do not.
I said that on mic, Ian Thornton. No, he doesn't care. I have a couple of questions. I sometimes reference my little legal pad. This is like a deposition in some ways. You ever seen The Social Network?
Yes.
Where they argue back and forth? Mm-hmm. I need to give you one of these too, and you just have a bunch of doodles when I ask a really boring question.
It's just like that giant S thing that everyone used to draw in elementary
I could get
school.
one of those going for you. Yeah. I know people who don't have booking agents and want one. What do you look for when you go see bands? Let's say you're seeing a band that's all, a really young band, and they clearly don't have, they're just getting started, but they have something. I mean, how do you go about even just finding stuff that you want to get involved in? Is it just sound? Is it just performance?
Those are probably the two. Like if I don't connect with the music, it's probably not something I'm gonna. It's
not gonna go.
No, I mean, it's a passion industry, and I just feel like it's harder to just be out here hustling and working really hard for something that you don't believe in. Mm-hmm. Again, pretty idealistic, but that's like the first thing for me. If I need to connect with the music first and foremost, and then it's kind of harder with young bands. The show might not be totally there yet, but you can usually kind of
you can feel potential.
You can get a sense.
You can definitely feel potential.
Yeah,
in bands,
and sometimes you're gonna be wrong, but hopefully you're right more than you're wrong, and you just. Yeah, I don't know. The show can get there. If they just go out and play a bunch of shows, it will get better.
It'll just naturally develop over time.
Yeah. But sometimes you see someone, you're like, oh man, that person is a star. And I
think we've all had that moment. I think even people who aren't involved in the music industry have had that moment. I mean, that's really how people get there, as they see somebody, they can just feel that thing, and they're like, I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to join all the Facebook fan clubs. I'm going to reshare everything this person does, because they just have that same emotion about it. They're like, this guy's bound to blow up.
Right.
We've all had that emotion, even probably recently with people we know personally. You know what I mean? Especially you. You're in this business.
I'm picking up what you're putting
down. Yeah. What are you working on right now, as far as what bands are you excited about? You don't even have to list clients, but
don't do that to me.
I won't make you list a client. I'm sorry. I'm fishing for questions. This deposition thing isn't even, it's not good enough. We got to go just straight riff at this point.
Down.
Who'd you like at Shaky Knees?
Probably, well, I won't say my favorite, but maybe my favorite set of the weekend was King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
Okay.
If you have not seen them live, do it as soon as you can.
Yeah.
It is a incredible live show, and they are they are just awesome, and their sound is so all over the place. Some of it's kind of harder metal sounding, but then some of it's just straight indie pop, and then but they're kind of a psych band.
Don't they have
and their name is
14?
King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
I mean, you already know you're going to get into something freaky with just that name alone. But don't they have 14 albums?
It's between 10 and 20, and they put one out 2 weeks ago. I think that has 15 songs on it, and the opening track is 20 minutes long, and it's fucking awesome. It is curse. So good.
You can curse for a 20-minute
minute album opener.
Wow.
Yeah, they have more recorded music out there. They've been around for 9 years, not super long, and they make
an album
tunes.
every 3 months.
Yeah.
My last question about it is, how do they go about, do you think, designing a set list when you have 14 albums? I said that to my
friend in the car on our drive home today. I was like, how do they write a set list? How do you decide where to pull from when you have that much content, and how to make it all flow in a show? Because the show is so smooth, it all works together somehow.
How do they remember it?
I don't know. How do they remember the 20-minute song?
Who do we know? Who can we get a hold of via email or phone at King Gizzard's?
Info at King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
We got to get a hold of them. But anyway, thanks for stopping by, Paige. Your passion for music and just in general is palpable. Thanks for coming and hanging out at the Content Farm here in Nashville, Tennessee.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for not asking me any really hard questions.
This is a softball pitch for sure. Thanks, Paige.
Thank you.